How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. You're about to see some scary videos we found in the foul depths of the internet. So hit that subscribe button and get ready for more creepy content. Just like this. When it comes to scary videos, our first clip of the day certainly makes you wonder. This home security footage was shared on TikTok by user V35.labs, and it has left viewers deeply unsettled. The clip begins simply enough. A mother is seen in the living room holding her baby. Everything appears normal. But later in the footage, the scene changes. The baby is now alone, standing near an open door. The child appears to be looking at something just outside the frame. Then the baby speaks, 2 words, clear as day. "Hi, Papa." There is no one visible in the doorway, no shadow, no figure, just the child greeting someone we cannot see. What happens next is even stranger. The baby seems to respond to something unseen, as if being gently guided back inside, and moments later the door swings closed on its own. Commenters were divided. Some suggested a draft or a door with a self-closing mechanism. Others pointed out that the baby's behaviour, the greeting, the movement, the timing all seemed to suggest an interaction with someone or something that was not there. A few viewers speculated that the child may have been acknowledging the spirit of a deceased family member. Young children, some believe, are more sensitive to presences that adults have learned to ignore. No follow-up or explanation has been provided by the uploader. So what do you think the baby saw standing in that doorway? A trick of light and timing, easily explained away? Or a brief quiet moment of contact with someone who should not have been there at all? If you haven't yet, check out our merch store. We've got loads of creepy designs, everything from ghosts and cryptids to aliens. All orders over 50 ship free, so it's the perfect time to grab a tee, hoodie or sticker. Hit the link in the description or the one we've pinned in the comments down below.
This orb, this imagery just hovering in my living room.
This unusual clip was recently shared on X by user Aaron M. Huberlick after reviewing footage from his home security camera.
I couldn't physically see what I'm looking at in the live feed. So now I'm like, whoa.
According to the post, the uploader was simply checking his overnight recordings when something unexpected caught his attention. In the footage, a small glowing orb can be seen drifting through his living room. The object appears to float smoothly across the frame, moving in a way that doesn't quite match the erratic path of a bug or the random drift of dust. What makes this clip stand out is the size and behaviour of the anomaly. The uploader described it as a baby UFO. Small, luminous, and seemingly self-propelled. It hovers briefly, changes direction, then continues on its path before leaving the frame entirely. Security cameras, particularly those using infrared night vision, are known to pick up all kinds of airborne particles. Dust, insects, and even cobwebs close to the lens can appear as bright floating orbs due to the way IR light reflects off their surfaces. A A few commenters speculated it could be something paranormal, an orb of energy, a spirit passing through, or even a small UAP caught indoors. With no additional context and only the footage to go on, the clip remains open to interpretation. So what do you think this security camera captured? A tiny insect illuminated by infrared light? Or something stranger drifting through a quiet living room in the middle of the night?
I'm Wanda June, and today was going to be my birthday.
This unsettling clip has been circulating online for years, resurfacing every so often to disturb a new generation of viewers.
Oh, I'm not mad at the ice cream truck driver, even though he was drunk when he hit me. It didn't hurt much.
It comes from the 1971 film Happy Birthday, Wanda June, based on a play by Kurt Vonnegut. The scene features a young girl in a party dress speaking directly to the camera. She is polite, she is cheerful, and what she says is deeply strange.
I'm dead now, and I'm in heaven. You see, that's why my parents didn't pick up the cake at the bakery. Oh, I'm not mad at the ice cream truck driver, even though he was drunk when he hit me. It didn't hurt much.
Her name, she explains, is Wanda June. Today was supposed to be her birthday, but she never got to have her party.
I'm Wanda June, and today was going to be my birthday. But I was hit by an ice cream truck before I could have my party. I'm dead now, and I'm in heaven.
The driver, she says, was drunk, but she's not angry. In fact, she's glad it happened.
You know, I'm glad the driver was drunk. If he hadn't have been, I might never have got to heaven for years and years and years.
Because now she's in heaven. And she doesn't have to go to high school, she doesn't have to go to beauty college, she doesn't have to get married or have babies. Now she says she can just play and play and play.
Now I can just play and play and play.
Everybody in heaven is happy, she continues. The animals, the dead soldiers, even the people who went to the electric chair. Nobody is mad. They're all too busy playing shuffleboard.
Everybody up here is happy. The animals, the dead soldiers, the people who went to the electric chair, and everything. Nobody's mad. We're all too busy playing shuffleboard.
And then comes the line that has turned this clip into a meme.
So if you think of killing anybody, don't worry about it. Just go right ahead and do it. Whoever you do it to should kiss you for doing it.
The actress is Pamela Ferdin, a child star of the era. Her delivery is sweet, almost sing-song. The contrast between her innocent appearance and the nihilistic message is jarring in a way that feels almost surreal.
So if you think of killing anybody, don't worry about it. Just go right ahead and do it. Whoever you do it to should kiss you for doing it.
The film itself is a dark satire. The girl Wanda June is a ghost who appears throughout the story to haunt the main character, a hyper-masculine hunter modelled on Ernest Hemingway. Vonnegut, known for his anti-war themes and pitch-black humour, uses her monologue to critique how society sanitizes death and glorifies violence. But stripped of that context, the clip takes on a different quality. To modern viewers stumbling across it on TikTok or Twitter, it feels less like satire and more like something unearthed from a fever dream.
So if you think of killing anybody, don't worry about it. Just go right ahead and do it. Whoever you do it to should kiss you for doing it.
This viral image first surfaced in Thailand in 2010, causing a sensation across the town of Pattani.
ถูกพูดถึงและถูกส่งต่อกันไปทั่วเมืองปัตตานีซึ่งคนที่ได้เห็นภาพนี้ต่างก็พูดกันไปต่างๆนานา
According to the woman who took the photo, she was simply capturing a picture of her daughter on her mobile phone. It was around 9 in the morning on May the 19th. She insists that only she and her daughter were present. ในช่วง 9 โมงเช้าของวันที่ 19 พฤษภาคมที่ผ่านมานี้ But when she looked at the image, something else was there.
แต่ปมเรื่องวิญญาณปรากฏบนภาพวิทยาศาสตร์ก็มีการศึกษากันอยู่เหมือนกัน เพราะพวกเขาเชื่อว่าวิญญาณคือพลังงาน
Standing next to the child was a tall, dark figure. The family had never seen this person before. When the girl's aunt saw the photo, she screamed and threw the phone away in terror. Rumours spread quickly. Locals claimed the figure was the spirit of a woman who had been attacked, assaulted and murdered in that very area some 20 years earlier. The family invited a monk to their home to meditate and make merit. Through this spiritual consultation, they were told the land had once been a cemetery and the spirit was a woman from Roy Air Province who had been killed by a group of teenagers. However, when local police were contacted, no official records of any such crime could be found.
อยู่นั้นเคยเป็นป่ารกร้างมาก่อน
Photography experts were brought in to analyse the image. What they discovered raised serious doubts. First, they noted that mobile phone photos typically contain compression artifacts, small jagged edges between light and dark areas. But the ghostly figure was strangely smooth, lacking these telltale signs.
ไม่ได้ตั้งวันและเวลาในโทรศัพท์เอาไว้
Second, the lines of a door frame visible in the background didn't align. The section above the figure's head didn't match the section between its legs. Third, the reflection of the door frame on the floor was unusually sharp compared to other shadows in the image. And finally, the file's metadata indicated the photo had been taken on March the 4th at 10 in the evening, not May the 19th at 9 in the morning as the mother had claimed. She explained this by saying the phone was a spare used by her child and the date had never been set. The expert conclusion leaned heavily toward digital manipulation. The theory was that a separate image had been pasted into the photo and blurred to blend in. Despite all of this, the mother still insists the ghost is real. After the merit-making ceremony, the family reported feeling less afraid and more at peace. So what do you think is really in this photograph? A genuine spirit captured by accident on a mother's phone? A glitch, a blur, a trick of compression and light, or a deliberate hoax that took on a life of its own?
ก็มีการศึกษากันอยู่เหมือนกัน เพราะพวกเขาเชื่อว่าวิญญาณคือพลังงานชนิดหนึ่ง
This CCTV footage was captured at Ninoy Aquino International Airport in Manila, Philippines in September 2023. The clip shows a security screening officer at a departure checkpoint. Her job is to manually inspect the bags of passengers passing through the X-ray scanner. According to airport authorities, while inspecting one traveller's shoulder bag, she removed $300 from his wallet. In the footage, she can be seen turning away from the passenger. The woman attempts to swallow the folded banknotes. Investigators later concluded that the officer had acted with clear intent to steal. They also noted that both the X-ray operator and the supervisor appeared to be in on it. The Philippine Department of Transportation ordered that she face the maximum penalty. Charges were filed. This was the third highly publicised theft by airport security personnel at Manila's International Airport in a single year. The passenger who was robbed reportedly chose not to file criminal charges. This unsettling clip was shared on X by a user describing strange audio captured on their home security camera. According to the post, the footage was recorded when no one was at home, making what happens next all the more difficult to explain. Without warning, loud noises begin. The uploader described the noises as a possible EVP, an electronic voice phenomenon, a term often used when audio devices pick up sounds that can't be easily explained. Reactions to the clip were divided. Some viewers suggested the sounds could have natural explanations, pipes settling, animals in the walls, or even interference from nearby electronics. Home security cameras are sensitive and strange audio artifacts aren't uncommon. Others weren't convinced. They pointed to the timing and clarity of the noises, suggesting they didn't sound mechanical or accidental. A few commenters speculated about a possible spirit or unseen presence making itself known while the house sat empty. With no additional footage and no way to examine the original audio, the clip remains unexplained. Just a quiet room, a camera rolling, and sounds that shouldn't have been there. This strange clip was first reported by Argentine news outlet Clarín after security footage from a gas station cafeteria began circulating online. The video shows a quiet moment inside what appears to be a small restaurant. A waitress approaches one of the tables, seemingly going about her normal routine. But as she gets close, something unusual happens. A glass sitting on the table suddenly begins to slide, completely on its own. There's no one touching it, no visible bump to the table. The glass simply moves as if pushed by an unseen hand. The clip quickly went viral after being shared on Instagram by the account Scary Encounter, racking up thousands of views and sparking intense debate in the comments. Some viewers immediately called it fake, suggesting the footage had been edited or that a string was used to pull the glass off screen. Others looked for more grounded explanations, a tilted table, vibrations from nearby traffic, or condensation on the surface causing the glass to glide. But many weren't convinced by any of those theories. To them, this looked like classic poltergeist activity, an object moving without explanation, captured clearly on camera. This strange clip was uploaded to YouTube in 2020 by a channel called My Village Plants and has since accumulated over 100,000 views. The footage shows a man in what appears to be a rural setting, preparing some kind of experiment, or perhaps some kind of ritual. He begins by propping a small mirror against a cement wall. Then he produces a peacock feather and carefully stabs it into what looks like a potato or a piece of fruit. He performs a brief series of gestures, almost like a ceremony, then he points the feather directly at the mirror. The mirror explodes. The clip sparked intense debate. Some viewers believed they were witnessing genuine black magic. In Hindu tradition, peacock feathers carry deep symbolic meaning. They are associated with Lord Krishna and are believed to hold protective and purifying properties. Some folklore suggests they can be used to ward off negative energy or in certain rituals to channel it. Others were far more skeptical. They pointed out that the effect could easily be achieved with a thin wire or fishing line attached to the mirror, pulled at the right moment. Compressed air, a pellet fired off camera, or even a small explosive charge hidden behind the glass could produce the same result. So what do you think really shattered that mirror? A trick, carefully staged for clicks and views? Or something stranger, captured in a quiet courtyard far from anyone who could explain it?
We just stopped in Peruvian, which is a Shipibo community, in order to have fizzy drink and some biscuits. And
This footage comes from the video diary of British explorer Ed Stafford, recorded in 2009 during his attempt to become the first person to walk the entire length of the Amazon River. In this particular clip, Stafford is passing through a remote village in the Peruvian Amazon when a local man stops him with a warning.
ahí es mi paisano, pero le han muerto ahí mi paisana, gringo, extranjero, que viene le mata.
The man explains in Spanish that a woman from his community was recently killed nearby. According to him, her entire face had been removed.
The gentleman just behind me who was just talking to the camera just said that we can't pass through Santa Maria because there was one of his relations was killed and had all their organs removed.
He tells Stafford that outsiders are no longer welcome in the area. If foreigners pass through, he says, they will be killed.
And that it's gringos involved, and they said if I go through that village that I'll be killed.
The villagers believe the attack was carried out by a creature they call a Pelacara. The name translates to face peeler.
And so the locals think that it's Pelacara, and they said if I go through that village that I'll be killed. And that's the bottom line.
In Amazonian folklore, the Pelacara is a feared entity said to target isolated communities, removing the faces or organs of its victims with disturbing precision. The legend is closely tied to another myth, the Pishtaco, a pale outsider believed to harvest human fat. For centuries, these stories served as warnings against strangers entering the jungle. But what makes this footage significant is that Ed Stafford was hearing about Pelacaras firsthand, years before the phenomenon made international headlines.
And so the locals think that it's Pelacara and that it's gringos involved, and they said if I go through that village that I'll be killed. And that's the bottom line. Gracias, you know.
We have previously reported on this, but back in 2023, villagers along the Alto Nanay River in northeastern Peru reported a wave of similar encounters. Witnesses described tall, dark, hooded figures that moved in silence, sometimes appearing to float above the ground. Livestock and at least one human victim were found with clean, bloodless incisions. Armed patrols were organized. Villagers claimed they fired at the figures from close range, but the beings did not fall. They simply drifted back into the darkness. Peruvian authorities suggested the attackers might be illegal miners using advanced equipment, possibly even jetpacks, to intimidate locals. But many in the communities rejected this explanation. The figures moved too quickly, appeared in multiple villages simultaneously, and showed no reaction to gunfire. Some researchers believe the sightings represent a modern evolution of ancient folklore amplified by smartphones and social media. Others argue that something genuinely unexplained is occurring in the Amazon, something the old legends may have been trying to describe all along. Ed Stafford himself later reflected on the experience. He noted that convincing villagers he was not a Pelacara was one of the most difficult parts of his journey. On several occasions, he was held at gunpoint or arrow point by communities who feared he had come to take their body parts.
More understandable thing, but going to those communities and you'll be killed. Christ.
So what do you think is really stalking the villages of the Peruvian Amazon? a legend passed down through generations now fueled by fear and modern media. Illegal miners using technology to terrorize remote communities? Or something stranger, something the jungle has always known that the outside world is only just beginning to hear about? If you want to see more scary videos just like these, then smash that subscribe button and tickle all notifications on. That way you'll always know when we drop our creepy clip compilations. In the summer of 2002, somewhere in the remote mountains of Kandahar province, Afghanistan, a US military patrol stopped reporting in. No distress call, no explanation, just silence. According to the story that would later surface, a Special Forces unit was dispatched to find them. What they allegedly discovered at the end of a narrow goat trail high on a mountainside plateau has since become one of the most persistent legends in modern military folklore. The recovery team, the story claims, followed the trail upward. Along the way, they began finding scattered US military equipment, shattered radios, torn tactical vests, eventually fragments of bone. The plateau they reached opened onto the mouth of a large cave. The stench was overpowering, a mix of decay and something fouler. And then, according to the accounts that would emerge years later, something came out. A humanoid figure, massive. Witnesses would later describe it as standing anywhere from 10 to 15 feet tall, weighing over 1,000 pounds. Pale skin, long red hair, a thick red beard, 6 fingers on each hand, 6 toes on each foot, double rows of teeth. The entity allegedly attacked immediately, hurling a crude spear that impaled one of the soldiers, lifting him into the air. The remaining squad opened fire. According to the most detailed retellings, it took approximately 30 seconds of sustained fire before the creature finally fell. A helicopter extracted the survivors and the body of their fallen comrade. A second aircraft, a heavy lift platform, was reportedly called in to transport the giant's corpse. It was flown to Kandahar airfield and then loaded onto a C-130 bound for an undisclosed location. The soldiers, the story goes, were made to sign non-disclosure agreements and rewrite their after-action reports. The legend first surfaced publicly in 2005, when author Stephen Quayle discussed it on the radio program Coast to Coast AM. Quayle cited an anonymous military pilot who claimed he had helped transport a body weighing over 1,100 pounds out of the Afghan mountains. That pilot described the unit involved as Marines and placed the incident around 2005. Then, in 2016, the story gained significant new momentum. L.A. Marzulli's documentary series Watchers 10 featured an interview with a man identified only as Mr. K. He claimed to be one of the soldiers who had killed the giant. He said he decided to speak publicly because his friend, a man named Dan, had died in the encounter. But there were problems. The pilot interviewed by Quayle said the unit were Marines. Mr. K said they were Army Green Berets. The pilot dated the incident to around 2005. Mr. K placed it in 2002. The pilot identified the extraction aircraft as a CH-47 Chinook. Mr. K said it was an MH-53 Pave Low. These are distinct airframes. Trained personnel are unlikely to confuse them. The US Department of Defense has stated that it has no record of any Special Forces member being killed by a giant in Kandahar. The only service member with the first name Dan or Daniel recorded as dying in Kandahar in 2002 was Sergeant First Class Daniel A. Romero. He was killed in a bomb blast along with 3 others, not by a spear. There are also scientific objections. The square cube law presents a challenge. A human scaled up to 12 or 15 feet would face severe structural and circulatory strain. To move with the speed and agility described in the accounts, a creature of that size would likely need to weigh far more than 1,100 pounds. Some estimates suggest a structurally viable giant at that height would weigh closer to 3,000 pounds, perhaps more. There are ballistic inconsistencies as well. The claim that 50 caliber rounds couldn't penetrate the creature's torso, yet could penetrate its skull, one of the hardest bones in the body, doesn't align with standard terminal ballistics, and military analysts have pointed out that trained Special Forces soldiers would not charge a spear-wielding opponent while holding rifles. Standard doctrine would be to maintain distance and use superior firepower. So what is the Giant of Kandahar? For proponents, particularly in cryptozoology and biblical prophecy circles, it represents evidence of the Nephilim. The book of Genesis describes the offspring of the sons of God and human women as giants who walk the earth. The second book of Samuel specifically mentions a giant with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. To believers, the Kandahar story is proof that such beings still exist, and that governments conceal discoveries that would validate scripture. For skeptics, the legend is a modern myth, a piece of military folklore born from the anxieties of soldiers operating in one of the most remote and hostile terrains on Earth. A region defined by caves, mountains, and a long history of stories about hidden things. The contradictions between the primary sources, the lack of any verifiable casualty matching the narrative, the silence from official records. All of it points, critics argue, toward an internet-era legend rather than a suppressed truth. And yet, the story persists. It has been retold by YouTubers, podcasters, and military veterans who claim to have heard similar accounts from interpreters and locals during their own deployments. So what really happened on that mountainside in 2002, if anything? A deadly encounter with something that defies modern understanding, buried under layers of classification and silence. A tragic loss of soldiers to conventional violence, later mythologized into something stranger? Or simply a story repeated so often and with such conviction that it has taken on a life of its own? Well, that's it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more scary videos, then check out those links right there. Remember to leave us some comments down below. We love seeing your feedback. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.